know you. Yeah, into you.
Good afternoon, New Orleans, or wherever you may be. It's 4 o'clock Wednesday, so we must be Baldy and The Blonde. I'm Tom Coates with
Michele Godin.
Hey, Michele.
How are you, Thomas?
I'm doing well, and we did such a good job preparing some material, all for it to be swept aside.
Swept aside.
As happens.
It happens.
When you're on only once a week, then you can cover only so much.
That's it.
And you make a plan, and then
war happens.
And then it all goes down.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. We got a war happening.
Well,
but hey, don't
not
worry.
Exactly.
Don't worry, Tom.
But
don't worry.
I will say this, that if you wanted to instigate a war, you would do the very things that our so-called government is doing. I call them so-called. I don't even know.
Well,
we don't know who they are.
Well, I have a little comment about that. So Biden is too senile to stand trial, even though the investigator said, you know, he was guilty of this documents thing, but he was too senile to stand trial.
Too senile for trial? That sounds like a shirt. Anyway, go ahead.
And Kamala's getting laid. I mean, is in Hawaii with Lays. And I don't know if you saw Mitch McConnell, but Mitch the Glitch is back. He can't talk. So who is running the government, and who, more importantly, is launching freaking missiles with the USA manufacturer and USA support into Russia? Yeah. What are we doing?
Who authorized that?
Who is in charge?
Not Biden.
Not Biden.
The
not
Biden
Kamala.
thing, whatever the Biden entity is.
That blob. Yeah.
So we don't know who's calling the shots militarily. We have, and no one in Washington D.C. seems to be curious.
Well, and even if you look on, I mean, the news, they're more interested in Capitol bathrooms.
Yeah, right.
Than a possible World War III. It's kind of bizarre. And I mean, American people just voted, right? They just voted overwhelmingly for the peace candidate. So
yes.
How dare Biden or whoever his handler?
Well, that's why they're doing it now. They only have so much time. So, and now things have happened so fast. There have been so many developments in the last, say, 36 hours. I honestly don't remember when the U.S. missiles struck Russia. I don't know I don't remember if it was yesterday, 2 days ago. But today, just as of this afternoon.
I thought it was last night, but I could be wrong.
Maybe it might have been. It's been such a blur. The UK, their missiles were used today.
Great.
And that was after Russia expanded their nuclear doctrine to, they changed it a few years ago.
Okay, wait. Let me just slow you down for
Go
a
ahead.
second. So big countries, muscle countries have nuclear power, and therefore they have doctrines that
well, I don't know if we do.
Well, I don't know. Ours is we'll use it when we want to, damn it.
Right. Apparently, though, in Russia, they have a doctrine or a protocol on when they can use them. Not that they would, but it has to meet certain conditions.
They changed it yesterday?
They changed it yesterday to something like that if they are struck by a conventional weapon by a non-nuclear nation who is allied or getting aid from a nuclear nation. Mm-hmm. Under those conditions, that's one of many, that they could use nukes.
So that would be they're struck by missiles from a non-nuclear nation, Ukraine, who's
Correct.
getting help from nuclear nations, US and UK.
Correct. And what's crazy about the UK is the UK approved use of their missiles after Russia expanded that doctrine.
Oh, wow. They just did it today?
Today.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Wow.
So, again, if you were trying to instigate a war, you would be doing what the U.S. and UK governments have done within the last, I guess, 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane, and it's against the wishes of the American people. Hello? Who do these people think they work for? Us.
No,
and we don't.
They know who they work for.
Yeah, well, that's true.
They know,
Satan,
and it ain't us.
Satan.
Well, I don't know who in this earthly realm they work for, but they do, and that's who they're accountable to. And they have only so many days left, and there's a fire lit under them, and they are trying to light the fire.
They really, yeah, it's because they know that, I mean, not to be cold-blooded, but it is cold-blooded, that there's tons of money to be made off war. And I mean, there's a book. It's free, everybody. Online, it's free. It's called "War Is a Racket" by a 4-star general named Smedley Butler. Really worth your time. I think you can even get it audio for free. War is a Racket by Smedley Butler. And he just goes through the usual BS that goes on with war, ordering, $20,000 shoestrings or whatever. You know what I mean. Hammers.
Well, and Smedley Butler at the time that he used to give speeches and write books and make many appearances about this sort of thing. And I have to plead ignorance. I forget what years he was actively doing that, but several decades ago. We're not talking recent. And at that time, he was the most decorated Marine in U.S. history, and I think maybe at the time, the highest ranking or one of the highest ranking generals in the Marines.
So you're saying he's not some lefty hippie?
Yeah, and not somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about. Put it that way. That he says the whole point of everything that they were doing, that he was leading his men into, was a racket. It was garbage. It was not for the stated cause. It was for money and power, period. And I don't know what's going on here and who's calling the shots, because we have no idea who's running the country. It's very disturbing.
We really, really don't. There's no way. But you see Biden last night? He took a right turn into the woods.
He did a U-turn, and he just turned around and wandered off into the rainforest.
He was going. I mean,
well, he doesn't know where he was going.
And this kind of escalation against a world power is just absolutely crazy.
And it gets worse.
There's the money.
So this vote, I think this happened today in the UN Security Council, had a vote for a ceasefire resolution for Gaza.
Yeah.
There was 15 votes. The U.S. had one of 15 votes. However, because they are a permanent member of the Security Council, there's 5 permanent members. Each of those has a veto power. The U.S. vetoed the ceasefire resolution in Gaza. So it was otherwise unanimous. They were the only one of 15 to vote against the resolution. But because they have the veto power, it's a dead resolution. So, and it's because the hostages were not part of the resolution, right? And
so why wouldn't they take the deal?
Well, at least take the deal.
Get the
step
hostages
back from the brink, stop the slaughter, and then work out a deal. You could do that, but nope. How many kids will die today because of that veto?
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it couldn't be done, but it can. And if Trump was in right now, he's good at that. It would be over.
Obviously, we don't know for sure how it would go down, but it's impossible for me to believe it would be going down like this.
Sure. Just remember that even with the with the Ukraine-Russia situation, that way back in the beginning, both sides agreed in principle to a ceasefire.
Yes.
Before hundreds of thousands of people were slaughtered. And for reasons I still don't understand, the then Prime Minister of Britain went over there and told Tiny Dancer, Zelensky, no, fight on.
And then the deal that they're going to end up with when the dust has settled from all this is going to be worse than the deal that it could have got back then.
The one that Boris Johnson nuked. Yeah, I don't use that word.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry. The one that Boris Johnson told Tiny Dancer not to sign.
The only thing that makes sense is that you have people that want this. I'm not necessarily saying that they want all the accompanying deaths, but they definitely want the wars because there's gobs and gobs of money in wars.
Speaking of money,
Are
there any money problems associated with the military in the United States?
Yeah, thank you for the reminder. We will get to that. We're coming up on break here in just a minute and a half, so we can't get into that now, but it's, again, the
Trillions?
Pentagon, we don't know how much money.
Yeah.
The Pentagon failed yet another audit. We'll get into the details later, but here's the general timeline. In 1990, there was a law passed that all federal departments had to provide the results of an audit every year. 20 years went by, and the Pentagon still hadn't done it. So in 2010, Congress passed another law, said, okay, you really mean it this time, but we're going to give you only 7 years to do it. And then, so they finally did get around to doing it, but they've never passed an audit. They've failed every single one. But that's just what's coming up.
Let's just say that the money's going somewhere. Big pallets of cash delivered to enemies in fields all around the world. And the American people and the American veterans, we're we ain't getting nothing.
If you had a slush
America
fund,
first.
if you had a slush fund that you controlled, and there was $10 trillion in it, what could you not do?
Exactly.
I mean, who
Do
could you
whatever
not
want.
buy? Who could you not kill? What laws could you not get? You could do anything, and that's what's happening here.
That's
There's
it.
Nothing. Nobody's held accountable. The money cannot be accounted for, and we'll hit on that stuff later. This is Tom Coates and Michele Godin. Together, we are Baldy and the Blonde.
At Baldy Blonde on Twitter X.
Back after this break. Hey, Baldy and the Blonde are back. Tom Coates with Michele Godin.
Hello, Tom Coates. So you were giving us a little update on the missing millions, perhaps trillions. Who knows?
Way more than millions. What are you talking about?
Definitely billions, maybe trillions, from the Pentagon, who hasn't seen fit to pass an audit since 1990. So
Even though they were required by law to.
I understand they don't have to. So I just wanted to ask you, because I remember, this is so weird, but the day before 9/11, Donald Rumsfeld, who was at the time the Secretary of Defense, came out and made a statement that he had lost trillions of dollars in the Pentagon budget or something.
Not exactly.
All right, well, go ahead.
He didn't say that they lost the money. He said they couldn't track the money.
Yeah, well,
It's not exactly the same thing, but think how much money you can hide if you're not able to track 2.3 trillion. And the point was, he said that their accounting systems were so obsolete, decades old. They poor things, they just couldn't keep up.
Couldn't keep
because
up.
they didn't have enough money.
Didn't
I guess
have enough money.
Yeah, they had money for everything else, but not accounting systems.
So, drum roll, please, but where were those records all located? Whoops.
In the part of the Pentagon that got destroyed the next day.
On 9/11.
So anyway,
there goes the records. Okay.
Here's Rumsfeld giving this little snippet of that speech.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot share information from floor to floor in this building because it's stored on dozens of different technological systems that are inaccessible or incompatible.
Poor guys just didn't have enough money to be able to keep track of their money. And they couldn't account for $2.3 trillion. So again, in 1990, they were supposed to do an annual audit. They went 20 years, didn't do it. 2010, they said, okay, we're going to give you another 7. So now here it is. 2018, they finally did an audit, failed. 2019 failed. 2020 failed. Failed every single one. They just had one that released a few days ago. Failed that one too because they did not provide sufficient documentation to the auditors. There were 1,700 auditors.
Wow.
The Pentagon did not give them enough information for them to be able to complete the audit. So that's the 7th straight failed audit. So now the Pentagon's saying, but guess what?
More time.
We're doing a little
34
better.
years.
And they are saying maybe by 2028 they might be able to.
Let me just say, that's kind of how the IRS treats the American taxpayer.
Yeah, take all the time you need. Take all
you need
the time
34
you
years,
need.
Michele? That's fine.
We don't
no
care.
problem.
We don't care.
No problem.
In fact, here's another few $100 billion for next year.
Anyway, moving on. Moving on to the cabinet picks, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about the cabinet picks because we are assembling what looks like the Avengers. And I certainly didn't come up with that term, but it is fun. And it's a lot of fun right now, isn't it? You can go to the fights. You can dance the YMCA Trump dance. I mean, people all over the world having fun. Only the lefties are crying. And we are looking forward to a happy new waste-free America. And I bet you Vivek and the Doge crowd with Elon Musk are going to get to the bottom of a lot of this missing money and waste. For example, the best one I saw so far. Today I saw that the American Medical Association was recommending that the taxpayer fund, I swear,
what?
$300,000 uterus transplants. Uterus transplants so that men who became women, so-called, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
could have a uterus and try to get pregnant. I say that's a worthy use of the taxpayer fund.
What?
I'm telling you. Look it up.
No, I'm not even going to spend my time looking that up. I'll
It's
take
true.
your word for
It's
it.
absolutely true. So.
All right. But we do have some sound clips comparing the current people in these positions in Washington with
Yes.
with Trump's nominees slash appointees. And I've got a long list of sound clips, and you know what? Numerically, some of these are out of order, so it might take me a little bit of hunt and peck on some of these.
That's all right.
First one we have is we will start with the press secretary. So that's I don't even know how Karine Jean-Pierre. Am I saying the name right?
Karine Jean-Pierre.
I seriously don't ever watch TV, so I've never heard that name pronounced. But I'm
It's
just
Karine
looking
Jean-Pierre.
Okay. So let's listen to her talk about, well, she's so truthful and honest. As always. Let's hear what
Always.
she has to say.
It's a delight.
White House reaction to the use of that term bloodbath. We have to denounce any violent rhetoric that we hear, certainly from our leaders, that tears our country apart and puts our fellow Americans in harm's way, in danger. So we have to denounce that.
So Trump talked about an economic bloodbath, and she's saying that Americans' lives are in danger.
Yeah, well, that's what she's saying.
And they have to denounce that. It's violent.
But she knows
rhetoric.
she's lying.
Of
They lie. I mean,
course.
she knows that he said so it was something about the car industry. If we don't do something to protect American car manufacturers, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Right.
Absolutely nothing to do
Specifically,
with
obviously,
humans.
referring
Cars don't
to,
bleed. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
come
just
on.
ridiculous.
So now she was talking about denouncing political violence, even though there was nothing to denounce in that comment. So now that was her.
Yes.
And the next one is
See, what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to give you Biden's
Yes.
bozos and then Trump's Avengers.
I already said that, but you were reading your phone.
Well,
and
I'm going
didn't
to tell you
hear me
why I was
say
reading
that.
is that somebody in my family texted me and said they are unable to stream the show from their phone.
Oh.
So I was a little concerned about that.
Maybe if we just talk extra loud? No, that wouldn't do
I
it.
don't know. I
All
don't
right.
know. Is there any? Would you be able to tell if there's any problem?
Not at the moment right now.
No. All right. So anybody out there who's having trouble, please send us an email at baldyandtheblonde@gmail.com or I guess on Facebook. Let me know if you can hear us.
Michele,
Okay.
just go talk among yourselves. I'll do the
All right.
rest.
Yes.
of
Go
the show.
ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So
Let's go.
next is, am I saying her name right? Is it Caroline Levitt?
Yes.
Okay, so she is
I love
she will be Trump's press secretary. Let's see what she has to say about
She's
political
good.
violence and rhetoric.
Let's hear it.
Dangerous rhetoric.
You want to talk about violence against political opponents? Let's talk about the fact that Democrats have been labeling President Trump a threat to democracy for the better half of 10 years. Let's talk about how they have compared him to Hitler and that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden weaponized the court system and the justice system in this country against Donald Trump in an attempt to imprison him. He sat through a courthouse for 7 weeks this past year, and the Democrats were hoping he would go to jail for it. That is real political violence that has led to 2 heinous assassination attempts on President Trump's life that, by the grace of God, he was able to escape, and he is here with us today. So yes, President Trump knows a little bit about political violence because he's experienced it himself. And talking about the tragic realities of war that Liz Cheney and her father, Dick Cheney, have got this country into is not political violence. It's talking about the reality of the foreign conflicts that the Washington, D.C.
Yes.
establishment have sold out young Americans to for decades.
Like right now.
So that's what the truth sounds like.
Yeah, that's it. Get
The
used to
first
it.
was garbage, and she spoke nothing but truth.
That's right. Get used to it. And remember, too, that, I mean, this is just a quick aside, but, you know, Hitler has recently been visiting the White House, met with Joe Biden last week, and then seems like the lefties, Scarborough, the Morning Joe and his wife Mika flew down to kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago with Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
you know
which is-
there was always a lie.
It was
It's
all- of
ridiculous.
course, it was-
These people are so crazy. They're just nuts. So when we come back, we're going to play some clips of the new 8 of the new border czar, the real border czar, of Kennedy versus his predecessor, Tulsi Gabbard, my gal, versus her predecessor, and so on and so forth. Quite entertaining. Coming right up. And after that, well, you know what's a good time right now to just say, follow us at Baldy Blonde on X. And what, Tom?
BaldyandTheBlonde.com.
Yeah.
You can listen to all of our old shows commercial free.
Commercial free, yeah.
In
It's-
case you can't stream them live, I don't know what might be happening.
I got a couple of texts saying people, but you know, it's kind of a weird thing. If you look at your phone, WGSO.com, bottom left, second from the left icon, and we will be back shortly with Baldy and the Blonde. Welcome back to Baldy and the Blonde. I'm Michele Godin, the Blonde, here with Tom Kowitz.
The bald.
And we are currently comparing the Biden bozo bunch versus the Trump cabinet. And Tom is going to lead us into the border czar comparison. And then And now, being unburdened by what has been.
And as you might guess, the common theme here is it's lies and nonsense versus common sense and truth.
Yes.
So anyway, so the next one is this is former border czar, or I guess current border czar.
Yeah,
I don't know.
She's in
I don't know.
Hawaii.
I have no idea.
In Hawaii.
All right.
Getting laid.
Here she is.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
Maybe.
Now, she'd been in office 6 months at this time, hadn't gone to the border,
I know.
had no answer for why she hadn't gone there.
Finally went a few months ago.
And
for
then-
the first time. After 40 million people came
Well, I
over.
mean, she's
but-
in Hawaii now. It's just nothing but a border there.
That's
Just
right.
everything's a border.
That's it. So now let's see what we have to look forward to with Tom Homan,
Yeah, so let's see.
part of the Trump team.
The first, so I have two for him. The first one
He's fun.
was from, actually, this is from 2019, and he's being grilled by that representative, from Brooklyn, Sandy Cortez, or whatever her name is.
From Westchester.
Yeah, all right.
Pretending to be AOC. But yes, we know her real name.
Of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommend a zero tolerance.
which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
I love that she surrenders. Okay.
I've never heard Sandy
She
give it
gave
up.
up. She totally gave
Yo,
up.
Sandy
because-
Cortez is AOC.
Because she was wrong on everything and he was right on everything. It's interesting. That's what the truth sounds like from these
Yeah.
Trump appointees.
Yes.
Well, some are appointees, some are
It's
nominees.
refreshing.
Let's see. And then there's another one. This is Tom Homan again. This is just yesterday, 2 days ago.
I haven't heard this one.
Giving an interview on Newsmax. Now, he's reacting to something that the mayor of Boston, Michele Wu, which I have not seen, but apparently she's talking
She
about.
said she was not going
Not
to
gonna-
obey the order.
Right. Something.
A bunch of
that's what I
these
guessed she
lefties
must
have
have
said that, like
Oh,
as if. Okay.
Okay, so here's what Tom Homan has to say.
So she helps us, she gets the hell out of the way, because they're going to do it. And look, there's a clear line here, and they can't cross the clear line. I would suggest she read Title 8, United States Code 1324 III, that says you can't harbor or conceal an illegal alien from federal law enforcement officers. So I hope she don't cross that line. They can not cooperate, but there are certain laws in place that they can't cross.
Yep. No
Sounds like
nonsense.
they might mean business. You and I, for years, we've kind of said it as a joke, but it really is true. Nothing shocks us
No.
because what could shock me?
What could shock us?
Except we're kind of being shocked lately by the good thing. And the bad stuff never shocks me.
No.
because it just comes
But
forever,
I am
wave after wave.
shocked. I'm shocked.
I'm somewhat shocked that some good guys maybe have a chance to do good things for us.
I am thrilled by it.
All right, what's the next one?
Okay. The next one we have is the Secretary of Health and Human Services, who is currently Xavier Becerra, and he's going to be replaced, I'm so happy to say, by RFKJ, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And y'all might want to go back last week. We played some clips from him about how they don't test any of the 72 childhood vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
Not one of them. And then
Right.
and it's a whole thing, and you can look it up. It's on his Children's Health Defense Fund website. The whole thing. But for sure, Fauci cratered. He tried to pretend he had proof, but he didn't. Anyway, moving on. Let's go.
All right, so this is an interview he gave
This is
with a
Becerra.
TV station in April of 2021. Oh, that one is, I don't think it's going to play. That's a problem. But I can tell you what he said.
You know what? I've had trouble with that one. I forgot to tell you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you. You've
I'm
been
sorry.
texting your sister all day.
I'm sorry. It didn't play at the office either.
Well,
Anyway,
appreciate
basically
the heads
it
up.
did, but you had to go into a different,
Well, they asked him, what's your point of coming to what's the point of your trip to Pacific
Seattle.
Northwest, and he said, vaccines, vaccines, vaccines. 200 million have been done, and we need to get a shot in every arm.
And
That's what he said in April of 2021. Now,
That's
6
correct.
months before that, so he had all the knowledge that RFK Jr. had 6 months before that, but he was still pushing these vaccines. Here's what RFK Jr. had to say in
November 2020.
November 2020. Oh, now will this one play, Michelle?
It will.
Oh, thank you.
It's only that one.
Problem with this vaccine, there's two problems. One is it does not prevent transmission. That means I can get the vaccine and then I get exposed to COVID. I still give COVID to you and everybody on the airplane. It stops you from knowing it, but you continue to transmit it. The other problem is they're only testing them for a month or 2 months. You're not going to see bad side effects till maybe a year out. A lot of these injuries that you get from vaccines have very long incubation periods. And what Pfizer's doing, which is very dishonest, is as soon as it finishes the study, it unblinds it so that everybody knows you got the vaccine, you got the placebo. And then it takes all the people who in the placebo group and it gives them the real vaccine. So now we completely are unable to tell whether there's long-term injury.
Can't tell if there's long-term injury, and yet 6 months later, there's the current director of HHS, or Secretary of HHS, saying vaccines, vaccines, vaccines.
So we're going to go from a vaccine to a man who has spent his life cleaning up the environment, who has expertise on the food supply, and is very concerned, as am I, with the skyrocketing autism rate, as well as the obesity and other problems due to the food supply being disgusting. All right. Now my favorite, Director of National Intelligence. Avril Haines is the current versus Tulsi Gabbard, former Democrat Congresswoman and Democrat presidential candidate, who now is the demon to the left.
Now, the clip
really.
we're going to hear is not Avril Haines. It's a CIA whistleblower talking about her in an interview on, what's it called, Democracy Now!, something like that.
This
was on January 20th, 2021. This was Biden's inauguration day.
John Kiriakou, you are a CIA whistleblower. Do you know about the history of Avril Haines, and what are your thoughts on her becoming DNI?
I was frankly very disappointed when President-elect Biden named Avril Haines as the DNI. We know that Avril Haines at the NSC was in charge of determining whether it was legal or illegal to place people on John Brennan's kill list. We know that in almost all cases, she said it was legal to put these names on the kill list, and people were subsequently killed by drone, including American citizens like Anwar al-Awlaki and his son. They were American citizens who had never been charged with a crime. They had never faced their accusers in a court of law. There was no due process for them. She's never had to answer for that. She was also the deputy director of the CIA when the CIA under John Brennan was hacking into the Senate Intelligence Committee's computer systems in order to disrupt the investigation that led to the Senate torture report.
Amazing.
That's the current
so
director of National Intelligence.
Killing Americans. Understand that without a trial.
16-year-old kid.
But you know, Tulsi Gabbard is the problem. Okay.
Let's hear what Tulsi has to say. Something tells me it'll be quite the opposite of what we just heard.
Let's start with the military-industrial complex. Okay. What is it? Who is it? It is these massive defense corporations who make all these different weapon systems, from the smallest to the most powerful nuclear weapons and missiles. When we are at war, they make a lot of money. When politicians, even if we're not at war but are threatening that we may go to war, they make a lot of money. And these decisions are not made within the context of, hey, what does our military actually need? It is very often what members of Congress are advocating for, even more than the military is asking for sometimes, because of those cozy relationships with the military-industrial complex, with these massive defense contractors and their lobbyists. The problem is not with the Democratic Party, the Republican Party. On this issue, and you see so much divisiveness on tons of other issues, this issue of putting our country in a continual state of war is supported by leaders in both parties and a majority of people in both parties. And it's directly tied to the military-industrial complex's influence.
So that was from 2022. That was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and that goes hand in glove with what we started at the show with.
Yes.
There's people that really do want war.
They make money to be made, like she just said, the military-industrial complex. And so here we have a person of stellar character who has served her country for 20 years as a lieutenant major and, has security clearance, and she's being dogged by the left. Because, why? Because she is honest.
Speaking of
and
military-industrial complex, let's see how far back this problem goes. Some of you might have heard this. This is Dwight Eisenhower.
5-star general.
His last day or two in office.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Well, we kind of failed at that.
Yes, we have.
So Tulsi is backed up by a former president, 4-star general, and then Avril Haines murders 16-year-olds. And yet look who the media is critical of. It's Trump's picks.
Of course.
Of course. They're all on that same
Even
team.
though most of Trump's picks are former Democrats, so...
yeah, good point.
What they are is they're people who believe in liberty and justice for all. Imagine that. So we are Michele Godin and Tom Coe. It's Baldy and the Blonde, and we will be back right after the break.
I'm a superstar.
Oh, yeah. Bad. I'm just that good.
Wait, we had just like 10 seconds ago, you asked me
to bring us back in.
And then you did it.
I just started singing.
Seriously, it was like,
I know.
I think it was less than 10
Less
seconds.
than 10. It was like 3. But it was the song. He says, I'm so damn bad, I'm just that good.
I guess.
Yeah,
okay,
whatever.
yeah. In your
Just a song.
dreams.
Anyway, what I'd like to do is call our attention to my favorite. Like, this guy, can't wait to see him leave, Merrick Garland. And this is him being questioned by the heir apparent, the guy they're really going after with, like, full steam ahead. So he must be awesome, given the amount of fire he's drawn. Anyway, this is Matt Gaetz questioning the current AG, Merrick Garland, on September 20th, 2023, in the House Judiciary Committee, hearing on the oversight of the U.S. Department of Justice. Let it roll.
Did the FBI lose count of the number of paid informants on January 6th?
Let me answer your question about China.
I want you to answer
China
this
is
question. I only get 5 minutes. You've already sort of, I think, screwed the pooch on China. So January 6th, did you lose count of the number of federal assets? Did you lose count and order an audit?
Gentleman's time has expired.
I get an answer to the question of...
China is the most aggressive, most
dangerous
China.
adversary
Attorney General,
the
I think
United States
I mean, the
faces,
question
and we
is,
are
how many
doing
paid
everything within
FBI
our power
informants
to
were there
rebut
snitching
that,
on the
to
American
stop that,
people and
to
causing a
prevent
riot on
their-
January 6th to upset the challenge to the electoral count? Because it wasn't to overthrow an election, it was to legally challenge the count. So,
What happened to that?
what do you mean?
It stopped playing there.
adversary
Attorney
that the
General, I think-
United
Oh, I thought it
States-
was over.
No, it wasn't over. I thought you were just interjecting a little
I was
bit.
interjecting because he was talking about China, but I
Well,
thought it was over.
but there's a great punchline.
Oh, okay, go.
Yeah,
Go.
geez,
Sorry
you're-
about that.
You know,
Hey, man, look.
I'm going to just do the Baldy show.
I just do the Baldy show. I'm going to have the blonde.
Here.
Did you lose count and order an audit?
Gentleman's time has expired.
I get an answer to the question of...
China is the most aggressive, most dangerous adversary
Attorney
that the
General, I think
United
that-
States faces, and we are doing everything within our power to rebut that, to stop that, to prevent their invasions, both kinetic and through cyberspace. And we will continue to do
If someone
that.
gave that answer in your courtroom when you were a judge, you would tell them they were being
Mr.
non-responsive
Chairman,
and you would direct them to answer the question.
Exactly. That's the punchline you
That's the
talked over.
punchline.
Okay.
That is it.
So,
and that is true. As a
again-
lawyer, a judge would never. A judge that is non-responsive answer the question. So let me tell you, this dude knows how to ask questions.
He does.
He does.
And again, what's the theme? It's nonsense, lies, and obfuscation versus the truth and truth seeking.
It's true.
That's and I didn't cherry pick these. These are
just it.
This is just the way it is. All right.
All right, let's go with which one do you want to do next?
Well, we have Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, it's going to be Matt.
In 2023. Oh, here he's questioning FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Another
Let's
guy's
see.
got to go.
Yeah, here
Can't
we
wait
go.
for him to leave.
Let's hear what the truth sounds like this time.
I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting...
Okay, he's quoting from a Hunter Biden.
Hunter
right?
Biden.
Okay.
He's literally going to quote Hunter Biden
Yeah.
to Christopher Wray in what I consider to be just a great cross-examination question.
All right, I'm just going to start it over. Here we go.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my father. I will make certain that between the man sitting next to me and every person he knows and my ability to forever hold a grudge, that you will regret not following my direction. I am sitting here waiting for the call with my father. Sounds like a shakedown, doesn't it, Director?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get into commenting on that.
I bet.
You seem deeply
Right?
uncurious about it, don't you? Almost suspiciously uncurious. Are you protecting the Bidens?
Absolutely not. The FBI
Well, you
does
won't
not
answer
and
the
has
question.
no
Hold on.
interest in
You won't answer the
protecting
question
anyone
about whether or not
politically.
that's a shakedown, and everybody knows why you won't answer it. Because to the millions of people who will see this, they know it is. And your inability to acknowledge that is deeply revealing.
I love that. He says to the millions who will hear this, they know it is. And we do know it is.
Of course we know it.
Again, truth against lies.
My daddy's sitting here. You better call me back with the money.
Yeah,
I
is that
mean, and, you know, no wonder they don't want this guy. And let me just say, I may forget to say this. I'll post it on Baldy and The Blonde, and it's posted on my personal page. But, you know, the FBI and DOJ hate Matt Gaetz. Garland and Wray hate him. They investigated him for years, and they could not find anything to charge him with. So now the House Ethics Committee wants to smear him because, look, a lot of Republicans hate him, too.
Sure.
He's kind of a, you know, he's a stirrer of, you know, what? Sewerage. Yes. Okay. There you go. So, but he's perfect for cleaning out
Yes, he is.
the disgusting DOJ. So, the next one is him. Do we want to go with him speaking at CPAC?
Yeah.
All right, let's go with that.
CPAC.
This is March 2023. He is speaking at the Conservative Political Action Committee. This is Matt Gaetz.
Seems like every time I turn around, they're engaged in surveillance or list building or monitoring, and I don't care if it takes every second of our time and every ounce of our energy. We either get this government back on our side or we defund and get rid of, abolish the FBI, CDC, ATF,
Hell yeah.
DOJ, every last one of them,
Right.
if they do not come to heal.
Right on.
Right.
Because
If they do not come to heal. He's been accused of wanting to abolish all of them across the board.
not.
He said if they don't come to heal.
And just real quick, I know we talked about it before, but because they've spent their time chasing after what? Old ladies at abortion clinics playing the rosary, Catholics, parents at the PTAs, Trump at the Mar-a-Lago, Melania's underwear drawer. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's like a police state with these
Wait,
guys.
go back to Melania's underwear drawer. You got my attention.
Okay. So we have a few people that have stood up for him, namely Molly Hemingway. She's
All right,
super good.
If you want these, we got to get on
I
them.
won't
Here
talk
we go.
no more.
Let's see.
We got two left, Molly and Megan.
Let's go with Megan first. I can't
All right.
find Molly.
If you are Donald Trump and your chosen attorney general has turned you over to Robert Mueller, who then ruined your first term as president with a bunch of bull, then you leave office and the next guy's attorney general is behind not one but two criminal prosecutions of you, and his DOJ is cooperating with not one but two state prosecutions of you in a bridge that's never been crossed in our 250-year history as a nation, then I, too, might prize loyalty to me above all other qualities and go with a guy like Matt Gaetz. Who can blame Trump for trying to pick the most loyal soldier he can find for this position?
Right on.
Well put.
Let's go to Molly because we're running out of time.
Well, I have to find. Oh,
I don't know if we have time.
No, here it is.
Yeah, we do.
Matt Gaetz was nominated for this position because we have a problem at the Department of Justice. For the last 8 years, they have run roughshod over rule of law in this country. They have prosecuted political opponents. They ran the Russia collusion hoax. And too many people in Washington, D.C. did not stand up against what was happening there. And many Americans are upset about it. Matt Gaetz is one of the most effective people at fighting that Russia collusion hoax and other information operations, whether it was the Brett Kavanaugh information operation, the Donald Trump Russia collusion hoax information operation, or the one that is referenced here, which is something that the FBI and Department of Justice, which hate Matt Gaetz, looked into and cleared him of any wrongdoing. The issue is corruption. It's the Department of Justice's corruption, and people are sick and tired of people in Washington, D.C. doing nothing as these people tried to destroy the country and getting upset at someone who actually might root out the corruption there. We don't have a Department of Justice. We have a Department of Injustice, and that's why you get Matt Gaetz as a nominee.
You go, Molly. That's it.
Dang, that was strong.
Yeah, that's strong.
And we're already done. I hardly got to talk today.
We didn't get to speak. We will let all these people clips everywhere. But that's what we try to do, y'all. We bring you the clips so you don't have to listen. This is Baldy and the Blonde, Michele Godin, and Tom Coates. We will be back next Wednesday, and you can listen to us at baldyandtheblonde.com with no commercials. Over and out at Baldy Blonde.